Hi, I'm Katie Ziskind. I own Wisdom Within Counseling and Coaching. You can book your free phone consultation for help orgasming, building more intimacy in your relationship, and overall more sexual passionate connection by booking your free phone consult at wisdomwithinct.com. In this video, we're going to talk about some reasons that contribute to lack of sexual activity and some things that you can do about it. So there are many reasons. Oftentimes we need to look at this as a holistic perspective. So think about a pizza and you get 8 slices of pizza and that makes up the whole pizza. So we're going to look at a couple of these slices. And these slices are different for each person and for each couple. So one thing that could be contributing to your challenges in your sex life is not having time together. So quality time is really important for being able to be sexually expressive. If you're not around your partner very much, like the smell of their body might not be as familiar. If you're like 2 ships passing in the night, it can be super hard to feel sexy together and be able to express your sexual side with your partner. So the most important thing that couples can do is set aside time. If we're on totally different planets, like minimum 3 times per week of 2 hours, right? So 2 hours Monday night, 2 hours Wednesday morning, and 2 hours on Saturday midday, right? Where you can be totally alone, free from responsibilities, and this is non-negotiable time, right? It doesn't mean you have to have sex, but it does mean that you and your partner need to be alone together, can even lay naked in bed together, but there is nothing that is going to interfere with this time. So some people use the example of church, right? Like, I can't miss church on Sunday. Or maybe if someone's an alcoholic in recovery, they can't miss their Alcoholics Anonymous meeting. Like they have to go to that to stay sober. So I want you to think of this as just as important of a commitment. So scheduling time to be alone with your partner. And like, say you picked Monday night, Wednesday, and Saturday for 2 hours each day. Your best friend says, hey, we're doing, paint night Monday night. Oh, nope, me and my partner have time together every Monday night. So there's a hard no for both of you. If you get invited to something else that night, if someone is, having a family gathering, like it's a hard no, because that is that set aside time, that non-negotiable time to just be intimate and naked and explore each other's bodies. Because it is so common for couples to not realize how quickly they are doing other things besides setting aside quality time for one another. So look at your schedule right now. Included in this chapter is a planner that you can use to really figure out when you guys can have time alone together. There also may be logistics around this, like getting a babysitter or making sure your children are, with their grandparents, or like the home is completely yours. And this is really important for a healthy sex life. If couples don't have quality time together, sex is going to kind of fall down to the very, very bottom of the list of priorities. And we're looking to prioritize your sex life. Another reason that couples struggle with intimacy is that the core values of communication are not feeling, good. So if there's anger, right? If your partner comes home from work and just doesn't know how to identify what they're feeling, doesn't know how to talk to you about what you're feeling, if you're just talking about logistics, right? You're like business partners. Maybe you're really good at parenting, right? But that's not a sexual kind of component. You are really struggling probably when it comes to sharing how you feel. If one of you is expressing anger, right? And usually anger goes both ways, but if one of you is expressing anger in an aggressive way, in a way that upsets your partner, right? Whether or not you think it's normal, if it upsets your partner, it's going to negatively impact your sex life. So for instance, one person in a couple may have grown up around lots of high conflict fighting. Yelling was normal growing up. You got yelled at when you didn't unload the dishwasher right. You got yelled at when you were putting toast in the toaster wrong. You got yelled at to clean the floors. You got yelled at if you got an A. You still got yelled at, right? So that makes yelling normal as we grow into a romantic partnership. For the other person in this said relationship, they may have grown up in a really quiet home. There was singing, there was joyfulness. When there was an argument, it was dealt with in a calm way. They learned a whole different set of values around communication. And for this person, any sort of yelling from their partner might cause them to feel very distant pretty much immediately. So talking about your childhood upbringings is really an important part of couples counseling and intimacy sessions. So if one of you thinks yelling is like totally acceptable and normal, that's okay, but we have to look at how that affects the relationship. How does that impact your partner emotionally? If your partner is feeling sad, upset, tearful, withdrawing, turning to other people when they're being yelled at by you, that is something to really look at, because that impacts sexual connection. If your partner feels unimportant, if your partner feels ignored, or feels sad, and that they can't come to you, that's a big problem. And sometimes yelling and high conflict fights can cause that. So this is my puppy in the background. So very important to look at our conflict resolution skills and how we talk about uncomfortable things. We're always, as a couple, going to be struggling with certain things, whether it's finances or trauma or how to deal with in-laws or, what's going on at work, or who's going to get the next cup of coffee made, right? So we're always dealing with things, and we want to be able to communicate what we're feeling in a super calm way, a super playful way. So say you have the most stressful, chaotic day, you can still tell your partner in a calm and mature manner. So that is really important for rebuilding your sex life. And you can use I feel statements, I want statements, I'm desiring, I'm needing, right? Versus blaming statements, which start with you. So you never, you always, you don't, you is a very confrontational way of having a conversation. So we really want to shift into ownership. And what ownership looks like is just saying what you feel and being completely accepting of how you feel, knowing that you can cope with it, you can use strategies, you have outlets for how you feel, and your partner doesn't have to necessarily do anything to fix how you feel, but you're just telling them how you feel, and they can listen and validate you. I think a big area where couples run into issues is when one person does say how they feel, but they want a very specific outcome from their partner, like their partner to stop a behavior immediately or to change something almost immediately. And we can't share feelings with a specific outcome. We have to just share them, and our partner is going to have a reaction, hopefully a calm one, and then we'll deal with that as it unfolds. So when you share what you're feeling with your partner, one of you will be the speaker and one of you will be the listener. And you can set a timer for 2 or 3 minutes and then switch, but it's very important that the speaker has a chance to share what they feel, not talking about their partner's actions or blaming their partner, but owning what they feel. Say, they're dirty dishes, right? And you might be the speaker. You might say, I feel really, misunderstood when, there are dirty dishes in the sink and we've talked about, splitting this task. Or I feel really ignored when I've asked for your help with the dishes and I see you on your phone, right? I'm wondering what we can do about this, right? So instead of saying something like, you always leave dirty dishes in the sink, I feel like your mom, I don't want to be your mom, right? That would be an aggressive way of having that same conversation. And this is one of my other dogs too. So, but I think that a lot of times couples need help having these conversations because they're very loaded, right? Maybe they're triggering some childhood trauma as well. So being able to say, I feel, I want, I need, checking your tone of voice, making sure that you are not saying what you're feeling with a need for a specific outcome. You're just saying it and you're like, hey, this is how I felt. So then once you are the speaker, then the listener will paraphrase what you just shared with them. And that will be very positive because they may have missed something you said, and then you can, say it again. And then after you feel like after the speaker has felt heard and the listener has paraphrased and really understands what the speaker is trying to say, then you switch. And then the person who was the listener now becomes the speaker, and the person who was the speaker gets to listen and then emotionally validate and say back to their partner what they heard. So this is a really great skill. Keep it playful. If you find yourselves getting triggered doing this exercise, take a moment to pause. If you find your heart rate increasing, if you feel your blood pressure boiling, if you feel a body response. You're getting hot and sweaty. You're starting to get irritable. You're noticing yourself interrupting your partner. You really start to kind of shift into this more triggered or elevated state of mind. Take a break. This is where you do something stress reducing. You do 10 yoga poses. You take a 20 to 30 minute break. You go get a glass of water. You have a low nourishing meal. You watch funny videos on YouTube of baby goats playing. You do something for yourself that does not involve your partner. And this allows you to self-regulate. So being able to know what you need, what makes you smile, what can help you let go of that stress that was percolating from that conversation. And this way you can both return calm and grounded to talk about that same topic, but in a totally different emotional state. So it's very important for each person in the relationship to be aware of their own personal needs. If you start to notice you're getting angry, it's not the best time to continue having the conversation. So knowing when to pause, knowing when to kind of return to the topic when you're both calm, and practicing self-care is really important, because there is no good that is going to come from a conversation when you and your partner are heated, triggered, emotionally elevated, stressed out, exhausted, running on 0% battery. Like, being aware of the timing of how much, endurance you have for this conversation is really important, because I think the biggest error that couples make is they start having these conversations when they're just depleted already, and they get super triggered super quickly. Both people are yelling, and it's a crash and burn situation. So being able to say, hey, I'm noticing myself getting a little triggered. I don't really like the intensity of this conversation. I really need to take a 30-minute break, take a shower, just rub some lotion or coconut oil on my body. And this is important to me. What you're feeling is important to me. I just personally need to decompress so that I can be most present for you as my partner in this conversation. And so, you're not walking out of the room while they're talking, but you're saying, hey, I can't be my best self right now. I'm too triggered. I want to be able to sort through what I'm feeling before we have this conversation. And you're acknowledging that the conversation is important to you and will be had at some point in the near future, but just that right now is not the best time for you. And that is actually very healthy to do. So noticing when you're kind of getting to that escalated place of too many high emotions and being able to reel it in. So have that awareness. And so these are some helpful tips that can really improve your intimacy, because our emotional security plays directly into how we're feeling sexually. If someone's feeling, attacked by their partner, which is kind of an intense way of saying that, but if they're feeling, insecure, attacked, or, distressed in some way or upset, it's very much impossible to get in a sexual mood. There are some challenges that occur there. So we want to create emotional safety first and foremost. If you're looking to better your sex life or build meaningful connection and want to talk about orgasming, the female pleasure system, and improving your foreplay, and just overall building sexual diversity, my team at Wisdom Within Counseling and Coaching would love to help you. We offer intimacy sessions and marriage counseling, so you can book your free phone consultation at wisdomwithinct.com. That's wisdomwithinct.com.